Hey everybody, welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I'm Bueller. Today is episode 62 of Coffee, Comics, and Comments. This is where we show you some great books, we drink some awesome coffee, and read some of the comments you guys left on our previous video. As you can see, I am not alone again. My good friend Bob. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. He has his own channel. Tell me a little bit about your channel.
So my channel is Everything Comics. I also have a coffee video there. That's kind of my mainstay. I drop that every Saturday morning. Film it at about 6:30 in the morning, but been having fun with it. Yesterday I had Sleepy Reader 666 on the channel, which was really cool. And then next week I'm going to have Sam from Sam's Tangled Web, a good buddy of ours. He's going to be on there. So come check us out, folks. Everything Comics.
Very cool. It's a great channel. I've been on there, and I'm hoping to get Sleepy Reader on this channel during one of our coffee videos. I think that would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
We've had Sam on here. You're on here. We need another Pacific Northwester on here as well.
That'd be awesome. Holding down Portland, folks.
Exactly. Very much so. We always start off with the coffee that we're drinking today, and right now my coffee is brought to you by Mocha Express, the official coffee shop of Comics with Bueller. And of course, I'm drinking yet again an eggnog latte. I went there first thing this morning, got me some eggnog latte, and it's pretty good. What are you having today?
I got myself an Americano with sugar-free vanilla sweetener and some actual cinnamon inside of it. And I got to tell you, it tastes holiday tasty.
And you got it
at Mocha Express,
the official coffee shop of Comics with Bueller. Give us.
He's really digging it in, folks.
Oh, it's so good. It's such a good coffee. We got a lot of great things to cover today. We have some books to show, a great conversation we're going to have today about our question. Our question was, if comics didn't have a monetary value, would you still collect? And I got to tell you, there was over 100 comments.
Wow.
And they are awesome. I mean, they're all awesome. I read every one of them, some more than once, to be honest. And this conversation is going to be a great one.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait. I've been waiting for this all week, so.
Very much so. But the first thing we start off with is our first five. And at the end of the show, we do our final five comics. But our first five, and I will go first.
Sure.
Because we have something very special. Because we have a giveaway today.
Woo.
And our giveaway is my first five comics. Now, let me show you what I got here. I have Militia number 1. And number 2. Number 3. Number 4. And number 5. What's really cool about these is they were brought to us by Blackbox Comics. They actually sent us these books. They sent us a few books for our giveaways and for reviews. This is a great series. This has the female lead character. It's a military type book. And she basically gets called into a live firefight, and she's like a fish in water. I mean, that's what she's meant to do. They didn't want her to be in the military at first or see combat, but when she gets into combat, she takes over.
Wow.
And it's pretty impressive.
Awesome stuff.
So Black Box Comics donated these. These are the giveaway. So how do you get these? All you have to do is leave a comment down below. You can say whatever you like. You can tell us if you enjoyed the conversation we're going to have today. Also, give me a like as well. And if you want to share this video, please feel free to do so. And next week, we'll tell you who won. And then next week, we have another giveaway from Black Box Comics.
That's awesome.
Not bad. I can't complain one bit.
I'm gonna have to check this story out. It really sounds intriguing.
It's pretty good. I read the first issue. I enjoyed it. You can go to their website. I'll put a link down below. They got a bunch of other titles, and those other titles will be the giveaways for next week as well. But let me go ahead and take these down because you're up with your first five.
Absolutely. And, I'm a little bitter this week. The the signing that was supposed to happen at I Like Comics with the Image executives got canceled.
No, it didn't. I was there.
It got what do you mean you were there?
I got them all autographed. You just forgot about it.
Sure you did. What fantasy land are you living in, buddy?
Whatever.
Anyway, I was bitter this week. I know it's been postponed. They're gonna bring it back again. So I will get my book signed. But last week I showed 5 books that I was going to get signed. This was the 6th book I was going to get signed by Silvestri. And that's one of my favorite covers of all time. Got some Wolverine action there.
There you go.
And these were the books that I was possibly going to get signed. I have a Guardians of the Galaxy number 8. That's the first appearance of Rancor. I have another Walking Dead, but this was a variant edition of issue 1.
Nice.
I have Nowhere Men #1. This one is actually signed by Nate Bellegrade. I was going to have that one signed possibly by Eric Stevenson.
Very cool.
And then the classic Spider-Man #1. Who doesn't want that signed by McFarlane, huh?
You know, he wrote it too.
Yeah, I know.
It was just okay.
A small fact there.
He's gotten better.
He has gotten better
as time's gone on. But great cover, classic cover. I like the gold one.
I do too.
The gold one's my favorite.
Absolutely. Actually, I like. There's a one that they came out with for the graphic novel, which I used for the basis of the piece that I colored. Mm-hmm. And the webbing in the background has this green behind it. And It's got yellow inside of the suit. I love that.
That's awesome.
Juxtaposition of color.
Very cool. Well, do me a favor. Grab those.
Sure.
We're going to stick Militia back up here.
Yeah.
Just so we can show some Blackbox Comics some love. So
There we
they're
go.
sending us books for our giveaway and for review. So
Thank you to
pretty cool.
Blackbox.
Real quick before we get started, I want to let you guys know this Friday we are doing a live stream. I have Strictly Comics on as my guest. They are doing a charity auction this Sunday and next Sunday for the Hero Initiative, and we're going to talk about the charity auction. Last year they did it, and they raised thousands and thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And this year they're probably going to do the same. And so we'll have more information. So check back on Friday night. That's when we'll be doing the live stream. And like I said, my guests will be Strictly Comics. They're the ones putting on the charity auction for the Hero Initiative. And all the information will be provided then. And I'll have a link to the information also down below. So please check that out. But let's go ahead and get into this comments
For sure.
for the question here, because this is really cool. So like I said, the question was, and this was from our sneak peek video that we put out last week. It comes out every Wednesday. It's the #1 most watched preview video on YouTube week after week. Thousands of people watch it. So we get a lot of comments. And we asked that question during that video, and we talk about it here on the coffee video on Monday. So the question was, if comics didn't have a monetary value, would you still collect? Great question. It was actually brought to me by one of my friends, the Comic Club. He asked it a while ago. I asked him if I could use it. He said, sure, go ahead. And we're going to discuss it right now. So, Bob, you are up reading the very first comment that was left.
Absolutely. By the way, I love this question. It really gets down to the heart of a lot of what we do. And so I'm ready for this. So the first comment comes from, I got my eyes, guys. This first comment comes from Matthew Kirkhart. And he says, yes, I would definitely still collect because of the stories, characters, and art. I mainly collect now regardless of the age of the book because of the cover art. I would even still buy back issues. However, I would spend way less on the hobby just because I wouldn't put each comic in a bag and with a board and in a box. Instead, the comics would sit naked, stacked on the floor in my closet on top of my chest of drawers like they did back in 1975 when I started collecting as a kid. There's part of me that misses the purity of that approach to the hobby. But at $4 or $5 each, I now feel that every comic deserves a bag and a board, if for no other reason than to preserve the beauty of the cover art. And this bag and board approach has just become a normal part of the hobby to me now, I think.
Yeah.
Great comment.
I love it. And
I do too.
I love the word purity.
Exactly.
And let me just kind of elaborate on this. Out of the hundreds of comments that were left, there was over 100. The majority, the vast majority of the comment, like 99%, was like, I would still collect. I mean, they enjoy the books. They enjoy the story. They enjoy the art. And I think, the more I think about this channel, that's what we focus on the most.
Right.
I don't focus too much on speculation. I've said this before. I'm just not very good at it. Mm-hmm. I talk about keys, but I don't talk about keys as far as value. I talk about keys just because they're keys. You might want to be aware of it type thing. So it was so nice and refreshing to get all these comments from our viewers that feel the same way that I do about comics and the same way that you do about comics. Now, he talked about, back in the day, in the 70s. Mm-hmm. That's me right there. Right. That's literally, they're piled up in a stack. There's no bags and boards. Nope. And I just grab the one I want and start reading. I love that.
Absolutely. And I mean, it conjured, when he said purity, 1975, it conjured up all these memories that I had. And I just really appreciate going back there.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, the same type of thing. I had them up on my dresser, or they were next to the dresser on the floor. And I also remember going over to like a new friend. When I meet somebody new and go over to their house, and then you kind of knew who they were by what comics they read, and then they would have comics that were different than you because people weren't collecting everything. You just couldn't. Newsstands carried some, then they'd sell out, and then this newsstand over here would carry another, and so they would have different comics than I would, and we used to trade them and read them. And the cool thing about it for me was, remember, we used to read them over and over and over again, right?
We did.
That's why most of them are all tattered now.
Yeah, it's such a great response or comment that was left, because it really strikes a chord with our young youth that we got involved in comics.
Right.
All of our stories are probably the same, very similar.
People from our age group, I would believe.
From our age group.
Right.
It's like we bought them off the rack and just started reading them type thing.
Right.
And then as time goes on, we got a little bit more involved. Bags and boards, and that's kind of the progression. And we got a box and all this stuff, and then we got an Overstreet price guide, and we were doing all these things, and it kind of grew from there.
Sure.
But the initial premise of my comic collecting was buying that book, flipping it open, and seeing what happened to Iron Man.
Yeah, absolutely. That and the same with me. I couldn't even imagine, kids getting into the hobby today ever being able to understand that dynamic of it, because it is just so much different today.
Yeah.
And I think it actually kills that type of collecting, if you want my honest opinion about it. And so really I love this comment, and it did evoke a lot of memories, and he's right, the purity of what collecting was back then. I love that.
Yep.
Miss it.
Okay, you got another one to go here.
Absolutely. This one is from Chocos 26. He says, I feel like most people collect them hoping to make money off them, but nobody will accept that this is the reason they collect. That's a great comment. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
But a great comment.
Kind of sharp, I think that there's some truth to that, but I also think that comment is dated. I think there was a really big time in the early 90s to where that was a really big thing. People were buying in bulk, thinking that they'll be worth some value. I think as time has gone on and we've learned from our mistakes,
right,
I think that, like from the comment before, the purity of the hobby is starting to come back. There's still a lot of speculation out there, and a lot of people are buying books to flip or make money, but the bottom line is they may make money off of one book, but they bought 30 other books that they're not making any money on.
Not making any money on. That's for sure. And I would agree. And, I just want to confess that I'm guilty of this myself. Because I did come out of that whole 90s craze. There were certain practices that I had back then that was purely for, collecting for a monetary value, or the possibility of a monetary value. Coming down the road. And, I would buy 3 of every issue.
Yeah.
One that I would keep in my collection, one that I would pull out of the box 5 years down the road to see if I, make my money back off of it, and one that I would keep for, hopefully it would explode and make more money.
Yeah.
But that was to fuel the buying inside of my hobby, because I just couldn't afford everything.
Yeah.
And, that was what it was back then. And I still kind of had that mentality now. You were at a store when I called up asking about a book, right? I didn't care about that book. I just knew that it was possibly going to explode, right?
You just wanted it because it was worth some more money.
Right. So I'm guilty of this too. So, it's not just, something that's been perpetuated, for a certain group.
Yeah.
I think even us as collectors have been flowered by that. And, I'd like to get rid of that. I really would, because the purity of it is something that I really enjoy.
All right, let me read this next one. This one is from the Comic Collection Agency, the only agency I would like to collect.
Come on.
I've used that joke before. It's all.
There we go.
Okay. Says, yes and no. I'd collect, but not nearly as much. But then again, they'd have to give a price break and tell better stories and maybe better art. Have you seen any art and storytelling from Immortal Hulk lately? What did they do to my book? It's horrible now, but it still could be worth something someday. But if there was no future monetary value to it, which there probably won't be because of the first 24 were great, I would definitely drop the title like a bad cup of coffee. Come on. It's like asking, would you collect comics if everything went digital? Excellent question, Bueller. Good way to open up conversation.
So I just want to talk about this last piece where he says, would you still collect comics if everything went digital? And, I was just talking to you about this before the show, and I realized that I actually read a lot more digital than I thought.
You're just going to admit that right on camera.
I am going to admit that. Because I do. I have the Marvel Unlimited app. There are a ton of books that I would never be able to afford to buy if I wanted to read them. And so I do enjoy using that app to read stuff that is just out of my wheelhouse money wise.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but that's, that's for purely the love of those stories and wanting to understand what's going on with your characters. What do you think about this? There's comments about the Immortal Hulk.
So
here.
that's actually it's a little side note. We're going to kind of go there. So the Immortal, I just read the latest issue, and the artwork in it was like, I don't know what was going on. There was 2 different art styles. I didn't like either one of them, to be honest. And the story really didn't grab me as well. So I understand what he's saying about the Hulk right now, as far as maybe the quality of the book isn't on par with what it was the first 25 issues.
That's for sure.
Now, does that tie into the monetary value? Not really. But, I think people would be more focused on, if it's such a great story, it doesn't matter the price of the book. They're just going to buy it because they enjoy it type thing. And the first 25 issues or 24 issues were great. That series does have some monetary value now.
Right.
But the more recent issues probably won't have that monetary value because the storytelling isn't as good. I love the Immortal Hulk books because they do have some monetary value and it's purely story driven.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of cool. And that's my monetary value as far as books and what I enjoy. If my book does have some value, I want it to be because of that, because of story, because of character type thing, not because there's a movie coming out next month.
That great point.
I don't enjoy things like that. I don't really even care about stuff like that. I look at stuff like that. I'm like, I don't care if they're making a Pit movie type thing.
Right.
Do I need to go out and grab a bunch of Pit comics? No, that's not my style. Personally, and I've told you this, and it might not be a popular opinion, but I hate the fact that there is a monetary value to comics. I wish there was no value to comics. Mm-hmm. I look at comics, to me, and I might be a little hypocritical on saying this because I do sell comics, but it's just if I'm going to sell something that's worth more money than what I paid for it and pay the bills to keep the lights on, I'm going to do it, whether it be comics or something else. It just makes sense. Mm-hmm. But to me, a comic book is no different than if I were to buy a movie for $20 and I watch it 10 times or whatnot. That movie's only $1 at the used place.
Right.
They don't really go up in value, but I look at it in the same area type thing. So I wish that comics didn't have such a monetary value that they do right now, just because I think there would be a lot more collectors involved. Because a lot of times you'll see a book and it'll be $100. So, oh my God, that's a lot of money to jump on a book type thing, and even some new books. So it's because I love the book so much. I just want them to be available. Now, you openly admitted to liking digital. I'm not there yet. I can't do it. But maybe someday I will.
Right.
And that does open my window to all these books at a very inexpensive price.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I there was a period of time where I stopped collecting comics. Life happened, and there was no way that I could be in the hobby. And coming back into the hobby, there was so many books I wanted to catch up on. There is no way I'd be able to collect those and pay for them. And so the only way to be able to do that was to get like the Marvel Unlimited app and to be able to check those out. And I've really appreciated it. Do I like it better than physical media? Yeah. No. I love the old feel of comic books. I love the smell of them. And you don't get the same feel. Of course, also, when you're reading something digitally, it does engage a different part of the brain. So there's an enjoyment thing it's a different feel to it. And, but I would much rather have the physical media if I could. But really, when it comes down to it, I can't beat the price. And so I will be reading digital going forward.
All right, we're going to go on to next comment is from Tobias Bentley. I would still collect, but taking the money aspect out would definitely change how I collect. The way I currently collect is I get my favorite heroes purely for the story enjoyment, but I also collect covers that have beautiful art solely to look at. On top of those two things, I also get comics here and there speculating that they will become valuable. So if comics weren't worth anything, I'd cut that last speculation part out and only collect stories and art that I personally enjoy. There was a lot of comments similar to that.
Yeah.
A lot of comments. And I see exactly what Tobias is saying there. First off, he loves the story. He loves the artwork. That to me is the most important thing. Secondary, when he's done buying those, he sees a book on the rack that's, hey, that's worth a little bit more money. I'll buy it, speculate a little bit, maybe sell it, and go back and buy more books that I really want, the artwork and the story.
Right.
This comment is very true to form. I think, like I said, there was a lot of people who had similar comments to this one. What do you think about that one?
I liked it because it really gets down to the crux. If I was going to have somebody new and I wanted to tell them how to get into collecting comics, I would always say start with what you like. And what he's talking about here is reading stories about characters or, stories that he likes.
Hold on 1 minute. Come on.
Nipples, come on.
Okay.
And
what are you going to do? Go ahead.
I know. But he's talking about reading stories and characters that he likes. And I think that's a great way to, get into comics. And that's where your wheelhouse should stay. Anything else that you do, I mean, if you don't have any interest in the character, you don't have any interest in the story, and you're picking up that book, let's face it, you're doing it for a monetary value because somebody's saying this is going to be hot, right? And so I like what he says there because I think that's where it should go. And I do the same thing. My pull list is basically the characters that I want to read. I'll always get Daredevil, I always get Flash, I always get Batman, and I try to get some of the X books if I can. But everything beyond that is stuff that I get strictly for reviewing for the show, really. And but I do also collect covers for the artwork because let's face it, we are in a renaissance of amazing cover art, and so I enjoyed that comment. I think it was right, spot on.
Very much so. Okay, you're up next. You got the next one from 1-2 Comic Talk.
1-2 Comic Talk says, when I was first exposed to mini graphic novels, comics, I enjoyed the art and literature. The year 1976. My age 7. Upon my second visit to the shop, I noticed books on the turnstile racks were cover price and were new. Books in the long boxes were also cover and some a little higher price. Books in the glass case were 10 to 20 times the cover, and books behind the counter and 7 feet up on the wall were as much as $75. The owner explained the reason, and it influences some purchases. I wouldn't spend nearly as much, but this question is far too complex to give a binary answer. What do you think about that?
Okay.
I don't think it's that complex.
Well, first thing, I don't think it's very complex. I think it's actually an easier question than people tend to think it might be.
Right.
What I do love about this question is his attention to detail about the comic shop in 1975.
Right.
Because I literally read this, and like the comic shop in my mind, the first one I ever saw that I went into was called Pegasus Books. He pretty much just described that comic shop.
Yeah.
Glass case, books on the wall, the prices and everything. It was years down the road in the early 80s, but almost identical. I really like this because obviously this person has a long history with comics, okay? He was 7 years old in 1976, so he was born in 1969 type thing. So he's looking at books that have a 25-cent cover price or a 35-cent cover price. And that's pretty cool. But like you said, he says this question might be a little complex. I don't think it is. We'll get back to that. I don't think it is. I think that it's pretty basic. I mean, whether you're into it to make money or you really enjoy it type thing.
Right.
The more people I run into, they're into it because they enjoy the story. And especially now because there's so much more available. You have your superhero books and you got some other books and that's it. Not anymore. Right. You have superhero books. Those are always going to be there. And then there's a plethora of plenty of other titles.
Right.
Different genres that are out there. And people are just buying those because they love the story, not because of the monetary value.
Right.
And I think that's awesome. And I think having such a variety now makes it so it brings a larger audience in, because the books are so different from one another than they used to be.
Sure.
And I think that the monetary value is probably going to shrink because of such great stories. If you look at any independent title, okay, any independent title, it's always the first issue that spikes if there's something going on.
Absolutely.
It's never, there's a couple exclusions. Walking Dead maybe is one.
Right.
But it's never any book after the number one. All the other books are all cover price, less, dollar books or whatnot. It's always just the number one. And a lot of times they just reprint that book type thing, which is great, so you can get it.
Sure.
It's really cool to see that. And it makes it so everyone has availability to those books.
Right. I think that is definitely the case, especially with independent books. More of them are story driven than they are character driven. And let's face it, the way things have been collected throughout the years, especially here in the United States, I think it's spilled over into comic books in a way that actually has affected it negatively.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's scrambling out there to get that number one copy of the first printing. And, it became a thing. If you had one, it, said that you got a little prestige or, whatever type of bragging rights you have. And then it also held a monetary value to it as well. Yeah. Because, when you have a low print run of something, or it's very hard to find a good copy, then it becomes like one of a kind type thing. And of course the value goes up on that. And that's the case if you look at the Antiques Roadshow. The things that have monetary value are all those type of things.
Yeah.
But comics really are different. They can take these books and reprint them anytime they want to.
Yeah.
Right? And so, getting into it just to have that number one or, the first appearance of this character or that character, I don't think that it's as important as we think it is.
Yeah.
And the one thing, and I've been talking to people about this, all these people that have the Hulk 181 Grail, right? You get a 9.8, and that goes for anywhere between 10 and 20 grand, right? Well, the value on that book is probably not going to hold itself going forward, right? Because when our generation starts dying off and you have this newer generation who has no idea about really who Wolverine is, not in the way that we did, are they still going to want to buy that book for that much money?
I don't know what you're talking about.
And so these things, they don't really hold their value over time unless it truly is a one of a kind thing. But if you've got 200,000 copies of something, it's not going to hold its value the way it did when we were collecting it. And so I really think that we really need to rethink how we look at comics. Well, I don't know about you. I don't think you need to rethink it. I know where I'm at with it, but I do think that some people need to rethink how they collect comics.
All right. So now that you ticked off everybody, tell them
job,
that their 181 isn't going to hold any value. Let's go ahead and move on to the next comment. The next one is from Dave Ernst. And Dave says, absolutely. I've been collecting since 1983. Started mostly because I liked the art and wanted to draw cool action, but then got into Spider-Man and became a Marvel fanboy. So the value never was a deciding factor for me, and for the most part still isn't. This is a hobby that for me is a big source of entertainment, and the fact that there is a collector's value to them is a bonus that hopefully will pay off in my old age. So I believe you should collect for the fun first and the cash second. I like that because it's kind of like the icing on the cake type thing.
Sure.
The books are the cake. All right, the fact that there might be a value to them, that's the icing on there type thing. But as long as you get cake, I'm happy.
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it, right? Because you're buying it purely for the enjoyment of the story, and then, hey, if it goes up in price, great. That's one of those things where you look in your box, you're like, oh, this is worth something. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think, if more people collected like that, I think they get a lot more enjoyment out of it as well.
Yeah, I think so too. We're going to move on to this next comment. And I got to tell you, Bob's going to read this.
Oh, man.
And he read it before we started this video. It's one of my favorite comments, okay? And it really touched the nerve. Give the guy a little leeway when he reads this.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah, and I just want to let you know that I really appreciate people who can bear their heart, tell their story. And this is definitely somebody who has a story, and it is very touching. So here we go. This comes from DGOG Danny Boy in Peru. And he said, I would definitely still collect comics, even if they weren't anything monetarily. I love to read in general. As a youngster, I used to have to take care of my chronically ill mother, which would keep me confined to my house for days at a time. With the wide variety of stories and art styles, these comics were my only outlet. They would help me to explore different states, countries, galaxies, without physically leaving my home and mother. I would often imagine myself as some type of superhero helping people in need of help. I still own a few of those comics I first bought in the late 70s and early 80s. I just have gotten back into comics in the last couple of years for this hobby. I was surprised at first of how much the majority of comics costed. But I still felt what a small sacrifice monetarily to travel to different worlds, to save a planet, to catch a serial killer, or deal with the supernatural. As always, thanks for the content and everything you do for the community. Man, DJ OG Danny Boy Peru, thank you so much for leaving this comment. Not only did it touch my heart, I know it touched Bueller's heart, but also it got down to, it made me remember why I love comics so much. I think a lot of us have our own story about, what this medium has done for us, and this is one where this is probably the one of the greatest examples I've seen. Yeah. I posted my origin video not that long ago about how I got into comics, and here is somebody else who was, emotionally and they were touched in such a way that it helped them through a hard time.
Yeah.
And so this is the reason I love comics so much, because it really can transcend what the actual medium is.
Yeah. I read this comment a few times, and thank you so much for sharing that comment. And I can kind of put myself in the place where he's at, what he was talking about. And a lot of times I get asked the question, in my videos, that my left hand is always moving and my right hand isn't moving. Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, I have cerebral palsy on the whole right side of my body. Growing up as a kid, it wasn't the easiest thing. Let's just be honest, kids were very cruel type thing. I was always fascinated with superheroes and what they could do type thing. And I would look at that and I would see these superheroes and all the things that they could do. These books have really made a difference.
Absolutely.
In a lot of people's lives.
Mm-hmm. So it really does transcend.
This is a great comment. Mm-hmm. And it's, like I said, it really hit home. And, I remember reading Marvel books and noticing that the characters had problems of their own.
Yeah.
And when they were their superhero type thing, those problems went away type thing. And I always, as a kid, I'm like, man, I want to be a superhero type thing. I want to, the problems I have right now, like I can't tie my shoe or I can't do this little things I couldn't do. Right. And I would read these books and I would just kind of become detached from my everyday stuff that I would struggle with. And just the frustration I would have day in and day out of the little things. Mm-hmm. That's what these books help me go through or get through. And that's why to me that the monetary value that there is on some of these books means absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
It's the stories that helped me as a child. It's the stories that help me today. Mm-hmm. And it's the people I've met and become friends with because of these stories.
Absolutely.
That's what these books mean to me.
Right.
And the majority, like I said at the beginning of this video, majority of the people who left comments felt exactly the same way.
That's amazing.
And I think it's so great that here we have a channel and the audience that is watching this channel feels exactly the same way for the most part that you and I do.
Absolutely.
And it's pretty cool. So
it really is.
That's why I had this guy read the comment, because I was sitting there with I don't think I can read it and talk about that at the same time.
I hear you, and I just want to say that a lot of the people that I've met, that are in this hobby, the connection that we have, it is really cool, because it does, give us common grounds with which to come together. And I love the fact that through this channel, I was able to meet this man, and we've become fast friends. And it doesn't matter what's going on, we can always sit down and talk about comics for 3 hours and just have fun.
Yeah, the time flies.
It really does.
Yeah.
And which is why you're seeing the video the way that you are, because we love talking about this stuff because of how much it's affected us, how much we enjoy it, and how much entertainment it's given us throughout the years. But this is an example of how the medium transcends what it actually is, and I'm so appreciative of it. Thanks for having me on this.
Very cool. Well, that was the comments. Like I said, there are a ton of comments on this. I'm going to be reading a bunch of these comments on my other channel, the Nerdy Dirty with Travis T. That's what it's called.
There you go.
Because there's so many comments, I just want to share them. So I'm
Absolutely.
just literally going to go on and start reading a bunch of comments.
That's awesome.
On a live stream, probably later today or tomorrow, whenever you guys see this. Type
I'm
thing.
tuning
It'll
in.
probably be up already. But next week's question, we're going to do something kind of fun. And since it's going to be the holidays,
right.
He didn't know this, but here is the question for next week, and this will be proposed on the next sneak peek video that will be out this Wednesday. The question is, are you a Rob Liefeld fan? If you are, I'd like to know why. If you're not, I'd like to know why.
What a great question.
And we will share those comments on next week's coffee video. As you guys all know, I am a huge Rob Liefeld fan, but I am more than welcome to hear your comments on this question on the sneak peek video this Wednesday. I think it'll be great.
There we go. We'll finally find out whether or not Bob actually is.
Yeah, we'll see if Rob Liefeld watched it as well.
Right, there's that too.
So let's go ahead and get to our final 5 books.
Sure.
And let me pull this one down. Actually, if you want to show yours first, and then I'll go last.
Absolutely, and I'll need a little room here because I figured, we're getting to the end of the year. I wanted to show off some of the graphic novels that I bought this year that I really enjoyed. And the first one is the Ultimate Spider-Man #1, which collects the first 6 issues of the Ultimate Spider-Man run by Brian Michael Bendis. Really enjoyed that one.
Gotta hold that. I don't want to fall over.
The next one is Black Hammer by Jeff Lemire. I've really been enjoying the run of this book, and this collects the first few issues there, so I really enjoyed that.
Very cool.
Next one is a classic, and this is the third time I bought this because I always give it away. But here's the original Swamp Thing run by Alan Moore. I had to pick that up again this year. And then, as you guys know, this is my favorite comic within the last 10 years. I think this is everything I want in a comic, and it's amazing. But the original story of Old Man Logan by Mark Miller, love the whole run on that.
Millar.
I know I used to say Millar, but it's Miller. And then lastly, the new Teen Titans, one of my favorite era in comics, which was the early 80s. And that's the retelling of the Judas Contract. And so those are the graphic novels I brought, folks. Hope you enjoyed those.
Very cool.
Take that down.
All right. Now let me show you my final 5.
The final 5.
Now this is really cool. This is from Diamond. And I didn't have any of these books. And they're putting out their version of dollar books. And this is The Boys #1.
I didn't get that. I should have picked it up.
Yeah, I thought that's kind of cool. I'm not familiar with the series. Obviously, the TV show came out. It's very popular. It's very good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to at least get issue #1 and start reading. I think I have a couple other ones I picked up in the 50-cent boxes of the regular ongoing series. But #1, nice to have.
Awesome stuff.
And then these next books were actually sent to me as a gift from Two Gun Pedro.
Hey, Two Gun.
And,
Pew, pew.
There you go. These are just awesome. This is White Widow #1 by Absolute Comics Group. Some nice shiny cover there.
I've been very interested in that comic.
Very cool. #2 as well. Like that one. And then I have #3, and this is a lenticular one She kind of switches between her costume and her underpants.
Wow.
That's number 3, so that's very cool. And the last one is a Shannon Muir Spider-Man #1 variant with Mary Jane on the cover.
Oh, nice.
Did you know that Shannon Muir is a fan of the show?
I did not know that.
He is a big fan of the show. He loves Comics with Bueller. He actually sent me a message.
That's awesome.
And very cool. So
Come on.
it's nice
Love your artwork, Shannon.
Yeah, very cool. I don't know if he watches the coffee one, but he watches the ones where we show his covers on like the top 10 and all that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So not too bad. So there you go. That's my final 5. Thank you so much, Two Gun Pedro. These are awesome. This is actually my first Shannon Muir cover that I have in my collection. So
nice.
Very cool to have that. He also sent Sam some goodies as well. Sorry you didn't get nothing.
Oh, that's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
My time will come, I guess.
So anyway, guys, that's the show. We're doing reviews at the end of the show. We're actually going to make that a separate thing and release that video separately.
Sure.
So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's watched. I think we got everything covered. But the reviews that we are going to do, we're going to do 2 reviews. And those videos will probably be up pretty soon. We're going to do one on Doll Island, which is a horror comic, and I really enjoyed it. And we're going to do another one on, it's called Red Mother, right?
The Red Mother, yeah.
The Red Mother, and
by
that's
Boom
an
Studios.
Interesting book. And you got I saw the copy you got. I call that the Something Is Wrong With My Face cover.
That was a cool cover.
It's very cool. It's not the one I found, but
right.
Very cool. So we're going to be doing those reviews here pretty quick, and they'll be up on the channel. And all the regular stuff is up this weekend, or this week as well, along with a live stream this Friday. Like I said, Strictly Comics is going to be on talking about the Hero Initiative charity auction that's going on for the next 2 weeks. And you're going to want to check that out. All the information we'll talk about it on Friday night. So please join us. It should be a lot of fun. Like I said, it's a charity auction for the Hero Initiative, which is a great charity for comic book creators that, might be struggling, and we all value our comic creators past and present. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the Hero Initiative. And, if you don't know, a lot of the work that's done in comics is work for hire. So there's no benefits, folks.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these guys, when they retire, they don't have any medical, they don't have any pension. And this is a way for us to be able to give back. And help support those guys. And
very much so.
Very, very awesome stuff.
Don't forget to enter the giveaway for the Militia books brought to you by Blackbox Comics, issues 1 through 5. All you got to do is leave a comment down below. Give us a like, and feel free to share this video. Much appreciated. Bob, let them know about your channel real quick once again.
Everything Comics. Of course, like I said, we have the Having Comics with My Coffee video. That drops every Saturday, probably mid-afternoon. Yesterday's episode, we had Sleepy Reader 666 on it. Next week, we'll have Sam from Sam's Tangled Web, and then we got a few future projects coming up at the early part of this year. I'll announce those when those come up. But check us out, folks. We'd love to have you there.
Very cool. Thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.